and welcome to the Give a Fuck podcast presented by Spark Consciousness. I am your host, Sarah Woodard. Among other things, I am a certified shamanic practitioner, Reiki master teacher, activist, educator, speaker, and award-winning children's author. I'm also a fierce defender of the underdog, which for me means wildlife, companion and worked/farmed animals, Mother Nature, and Gaia herself. I care deeply about my fellow human animals and believe that when we learn to live in harmony with nature, we also learn to live in harmony with ourselves and each other. I am fearless about doing my own inner work and growth and am passionate about helping create a world where all beings are respected and honored. I have a deep connection to Gaia and feel particularly connected in the presence of the beautiful Colorado Front Range. When I'm not busy working to present information about living in harmony with Mother Nature, I share my time with 3 wonderful cats, enjoy birdwatching, and experiencing all the outdoors has to offer. My life journey to this point has been filled with twists, turns, and changes, as is everyone's. For me, the constants from birth to now are a strong connection to Gaia, a deep-seated need to serve and help create a more compassionate and healthy world, and a love of both learning and sharing my knowledge. Those lifelong constants are what brought me to this point. All of the knowledge I've acquired in the process of learning to live my life in harmony, as well as new information I come across, are the inspiration for and knowledge bombs presented in this podcast. Through connection to nature, I help young millennial women and others feeling lost expand their knowledge, feel connected to the world around them, and live with greater compassion. The purpose of this show is to present new information and or old information in a new way to help you see connections and live in harmony. The name kind of says it all here, peeps. Sometimes I also share resources as I love to help you continue learning. As a quick reminder, Give a Fuck is spelled F***K. And I'd also like to send a quick thank you to all of my existing Patreon subscribers. A quick life update. I actually have a very interesting story. I saw in one of the bird watching groups that I am on for Colorado on Facebook that there was somebody was trying to identify these ducks at a pond in Denver. And I took one look and I was like, I think that's a domesticated duck. And I took a screenshot of their photo and sent it to this woman I know from back east who runs a duck rescue called They All Want to Live. And I said, hey, can you confirm, is this a domestic duck that's been dumped? And sure enough, it was. So I commented on that group and said, hey, this is a domestic duck and, needs to be rescued and blah, blah, blah. And I'll go into all the reasons why in the Satan section of our show. But for now, just go with me in the fact that they needed to be rescued. And everybody in that group kind of freaked out. And this was an ornithology group, so it was a little bit surprising that these ornithology people freaked out the way that they did about the idea of rescuing domesticated ducks that were dumped and clearly didn't belong where they were. So I did some more searching and I found a Colorado Duck Rescue Network and posted this information there, and everybody was like, yes, oh my gosh, we need to do something, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I wound up driving down to this pond in Denver, about a half hour away, and met up with this other guy named Gus who has some experience in rescuing domestic ducks that shouldn't be out in the wild. And we did our level best. At least I think we did. No success yet, as far as I know, in capturing these poor babies. There was actually more than one domestic duck that was dumped there. Part of me feels like maybe this guy didn't really want to catch them because he was enjoying going there every day and feeding them, and apparently had been aware of this situation for a while but didn't do anything. So that rang a little funny for me, but it was an interesting experience for me nonetheless because I've never been involved in a rescue like that. And even though it was unsuccessful, I still feel like I did the best I could and I learned a lot. So that was pretty neat. I've also been taking ASL, American Sign Language classes, and I am loving that. There's been a bit so far that's a review, but we're starting to delve into some stuff I don't remember. Super fun. Loving that. Yeah, I think that's all I've got going on right at the moment. In this next section, I would normally answer questions from our Patreon subscribers. But since there are no questions, I just wanted to let you know what happens with the Patreon there in case you're interested. So when you opt in and stick around, you get some super fun bennies, including the opportunity to submit a question that I'll ask on the air. You also get, depending on the level, you could also get discount codes for offerings. You can see every single thing that I'm offering on my Patreon page, and that's linked in the show notes if you're interested in any of that. So moving on to the Seitan. I wanted to actually talk about ducks and birds and just all the cool things that we get to see when we take that step back and take that moment to just enjoy what nature has to offer us. So circling back to my life update with the ducks. So the reason that domestic ducks it's kind of a problem that they're in this pond with wild ducks, there's several reasons. The first is domestic ducks they're a whole other species of duck. It's not like somebody just grabbed a mallard and tried to domesticate it. It's a whole other species of duck. And they're not able to fly as high or as far or as long as their wild cousins are. And because of that, they're very vulnerable to predators. They also don't know how to survive in the cold. They don't know how to find food the same way because they're domestic. It's like a dog or a cat. They rely on us for their needs. The other issue is, unlike your dog or your cat, domestic ducks are not generally spayed or neutered. So they're out there with these wild ducks and they're breeding and they're passing on these quote unquote deficiencies of not being able to fly well and all of that to any baby ducks that are born between a domestic duck and a wild duck. So that makes it harder for those babies potentially to survive in the wild. It's not a good situation. They shouldn't be there. Unfortunately, it's really, really common for people who have ducks as dump them with wild ducks thinking, oh, they'll be fine. They're not fine. So please don't do that. If you are a duck mom or dad, please don't do that if you get to some point in your life where you can't care for them for some reason or another. Find them a better home. Dumping them just is basically a death sentence. That said, it is very cool to enjoy going to see ducks. One of the things I really loved about this experience of trying to rescue these two domestic ducks was you kind of have to try to bribe them with food, which also means you're attracting the wild ducks because food's food, babe. And it was really cool because at one point I was just surrounded in ducks that were just so happy and eating, and it was just very, very cool to just stand there and enjoy this duck energy of bliss and happiness, and highly recommended. Bear in mind, do not feed them bread or any other birds bread. It expands in their stomachs, makes them feel full so they don't have enough nutrients, and if you put it in the water, it rots. Better options are things like peas or tomatoes or lettuce. Tomatoes were a big hit with these ducks. Oh my goodness. Cucumbers, anything like that is good. They will eat that and it doesn't rot and it has nutrition for them. Another super cool experience that I had with birds recently was actually, I have these two collared doves. It's a husband and wife. They mate for life, and they come to visit on my balcony basically daily. And all year long, I'd been noticing sometimes it wasn't both of them. Sometimes it was one at a time, and I didn't really think about it. I just figured, well, whatever. But then recently, I actually saw them engaging in some pretty weird behavior. They were like pacing back and forth and sitting and getting up, and it kind of looked like anxiety, but birds don't really get anxiety that I'm aware of. And so I was like, what is that? And the cats were really fascinated. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pause for a minute. I'm going to watch this because this is fascinating. This is interesting. And clearly nature is calling on me to take a break, to be in the moment, and to enjoy something that's unique. And so I sat and watched them for a little bit, and then one dove hopped on the back of the other one, sat there for a little bit, got off, sat there for another minute or two, got back on, got back off, and then they just cuddled. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think that this is them breeding. And it was. I actually wound up going on Google later on and I looked it up. They apparently, in places where winters are pretty mild, like they are in Colorado, they will breed year round. And because they mate for life, they actually will take turns on who sits on the eggs or who stays with the baby birds once they've hatched, while the other one goes to find food. And they take turns. So sweet. So when I'm seeing only one at a time, it's because they're taking turns and they're caring for their babies. How cute is that? And I also thought it was so sweet that they cuddled afterwards. Like, oh, that's so romantic. So it was super great and super cute. And it just made me really think about, between those two things, it made me really think about, like, when you take that time to step away from the technology, to step outside of all the drama of your life and all the noise of modern day life, and really just immerse yourself in that, all the cool experiences you can have. And I would love to hear about any cool experiences you guys have had with nature. It doesn't even have to require leaving your house. The doves didn't require leaving my house. But it could be anything. You know, another cool thing that happened a little while ago is I was on a bird walk at one of the local lakes, and we were just, you know, standing doing our bird watching thing of looking at some birds and whatever, and somebody goes, look, coyotes. And we look, and there was 2 coyotes just walking through. They didn't even notice us. They just were doing their thing. One of them was actually on 3 legs, but he or she was totally fine. Didn't really seem fazed by the 3 legs thing, and was just doing the thing, walking through to wherever they were going. It's just it's really amazing and kind of spiritual in a way to feel like nature's sharing this with you. Nature is allowing you this little glimpse into how she operates and how she continues to grow and to live and to survive and thrive despite our best efforts sometimes. And it's pretty amazing. If you don't have any experiences like that you can share, and I really hope you do, and that you'll reach out to me on Instagram or somewhere and share them with me, because I would love to hear about that. But if you don't have any, maybe it's time you try to cultivate some. Take that step back, take that breather, and, you know, like the saying goes, stop and smell the roses. But maybe don't smell the roses, because roses are not generally native plants. Maybe it's stop and feed the ducks something that's not bread. If you're allowed to feed them where you are. Some places you're not allowed to feed them at all. And if you do that, please also then sanitize your shoes so you're not spreading bird flu. Maybe it's stop and watch the birds outside your window without even leaving your house. But just stop and do that. It doesn't even have to be a long time, a couple minutes. And pay attention to, how do you feel? Not just in spirit, but physically in your body. How do you feel before that and after that? Start paying attention to that. See what happens. And then let me know. Because I'm going to move on to wrap up and housekeeping at this point. You can find me on social media. I am on Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And my username on all of those is Spark Consciousness. You can also find me on my website. And if you're on my email list, you'll see me in your email soon. I would love, if you have not already investigated it, for you to check out my course and sign up for that waiting list, as well as for the magazine subscription waiting list. Just check them out. See if they speak to you. If you're enjoying the show, I have a feeling they might be worthwhile for you. I also recently started a new aspect of the business called Moon Gatherings for the new moon and the full moon. If you are in the Denver area and you're looking for some support in navigating whatever you're trying to create in your life, and you would like to use some divine feminine energy to help you get there, I would love to see you at these gatherings. They are going to be super fun. There's information on my website about that as well. Once again, if you would like to support the show, you can join my Patreon. I already reviewed all of that awesomeness, so I'm not going to bore you with it again. You can also sponsor an episode if you're interested in that, and there's information about that on the website as well. If you're podcast platform allows you to do so, I would love for you to take a minute and rate the show. That is one of the simplest ways to support any creators that you love. It doesn't cost you a thing. So what's coming next? Well, I reviewed for the second time, I think, the drafts of the videos for the course that's coming in March. We are very close to final drafts on that. Super exciting. And other than that, I'm hoping to get back into the 52 hikes, the 52 hike challenge that I signed up for. It's been really, really cold, and I just can't get excited about hiking when the temperature is in the 20s or below. It's just, I can't get excited about it. Sorry. But it's supposed to warm up, so hopefully I can get back into that. And I think that is all that I've got going on at the moment. But I will keep you posted, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Until then, continue to expand your knowledge, feel the connections, and live with compassion.